Okay, now I'm getting very much closer to the gift, but before I get to the gift, I need to give you some context in the first place so you truly understand what we are saying. This might be a bit boring from your perspective, but be very, very patient. And it's not as boring as you think, actually. But anyway, let's get there. Now, before we get to the gift, the context is the two covenants. In the history of this world, or rather in the Bible, there are two covenants that has been stated. The first covenant, if you get to the book of Hebrews chapter 8, 9 and 10, you will understand about the two covenants. Hebrews 8, 9 and 10, if you want to check it out yourself. In Hebrews 8, 9 and 10, it was hinted that the first covenant was the covenant that God gave to the people of Israel when they were leaving Egypt. But the problem with that covenant was that it was dependent on people. It was dependent on human beings like you and I. That first covenant demanded perfection, okay, and it was dependent on people like you and I. And since human beings, we are not perfect because we are sinners, because of what Adam did in the first place. Because of that, we could not fully follow the first covenant. The first covenant was good, don't get me wrong, but the problem was that it was dependent on people who were not perfect. That's why the first covenant failed. And so God abolished that first covenant because it was not working. So God said that He will not create a new covenant. This covenant will not be like the old one made with the people of Israel, that people were not faithful, so He turned their back on them. But this new covenant is the one I will create with the people of Israel and Judah. Disclaimer: it's now with us as well, with the Gentiles. But before I get there, this new covenant now is not based on people like you and I who are not perfect. It is based on someone else who is perfect, who came to this world, and that person was Jesus Christ. Because Jesus Christ came and fully completed the law, fully fulfilled the laws. So this covenant is no longer hinged on me and you. It is hinged on someone else who is perfect, and that's in Jesus Christ. And because of what Jesus Christ did, God, you're going to be very, very shocked here. You're going to be very, very shocked here, but not to be shocked, okay? And hear me out. Brace yourselves. Because of this second covenant, God says He will no longer forgive people because of their sins. Forgive people of their sins. He will also forget they ever sinned in the first place. Haha, you're shocked, right? In the first covenant, it was based on people who were perfect. Therefore, God punishes you if you sin, and God blesses you if you obey. But the second covenant is different from the first covenant because it was never based on us in the first place. It was based on Jesus Christ in the first place. And then, because of Jesus Christ, who was perfect, God is no longer dealing with us based on what we do. God is dealing with us based on what Jesus Christ has already done. And that's why Jesus Christ came. Jesus Christ did not come into this world to help us save money, because you understand from what I'm saying that when you go into the world, people are saying that you have to obey the laws, or that the reason Jesus Christ came was so that you can ask for forgiveness easily with our mouths, easily ask for forgiveness, unlike in the Old Testament when they were having to sacrifice. When you think about it that way, what really was the difference between the both of them? In the Old Covenant, okay, we had to, based on your logic, that Jesus Christ came to make it easier to ask for forgiveness. Based on your logic, not my logic, not the Bible. Based on your logic, what you are saying is that the only difference is that we don't have to sacrifice anymore. That we can come into God's presence and ask for forgiveness. But when you think about it, what really is the difference between both of them? In the first one, we are doing something in order to be forgiven. In second one, based on what you are saying, we are also doing something in order to be forgiven. So when you look at the difference between both of them, the only difference is the lamb and blood and the easiness. So basically, what Jesus Christ came to do from your perspective is to save money to buy lamb and time. Think about it. There's no difference. In fact, when you check Hebrews chapter 10, the reason God abolished the first covenant, okay, was because it reminded people of their sins. The shedding, the cutting of the lamb and sacrificing over and for the forgiveness of sins reminded people of their sins, and God did not like that. But then, if the reason God abolished the first covenant was because the first covenant sacrificing was reminding people of their sins, the second covenant, from your perspective of what Jesus Christ came to do, is still doing the same thing that God abolished the first covenant for. Because anytime you ask for forgiveness of your sin, you are acknowledging and you are reminding yourself that you ever sinned in the first place, that you are a sinner. That's what you are doing, which is exactly why Jesus Christ abolished the first covenant, and that is entirely wrong. In fact, anyway, let's not get there. Okay, now, but basically, this is just a disclaimer, and I'll explain properly the true repercussion of what exactly Jesus Christ came to do. I'll explain in the next video by God's grace.